It is game day, ladies and gentlemen. The Chicago Bulls face off versus the Phoenix Suns tonight. We're going to talk about that. But before we get into the Bulls versus the Phoenix Suns tonight, I want to talk about why it's going to be hard for the Chicago Bulls to retain talented guys like Trey Jones. And we got Josh Giddey making a return. Will it be tonight? Will it be tomorrow? Y'all know we're going to talk about it all and break it down right after this.
Cognac, gang.
Shy Bulls podcast with the Cognac Boys. I'm Cognac Boy Bobby, and I'm holding it down on today's daily episode. If you're tuned in with me today, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell as well. The Chicago Bulls, man, do they have a tough road ahead? But one player specifically who I feel really has been playing really damn well, especially since he's been on this squad after a little bit of pettiness, Trey Jones, my God. Trey Jones has been a player that I have come around on and was like, hey, this guy is an absolute ball player. He's a guy that's going to come out there, play some high IQ basketball. He's going to come out there and attack the basket, especially with the way that the Chicago Bulls want to run the floor. And he's a tough defender who can go out there and create plays on the defensive end to where it turns into positive points on the offensive end for the Chicago Bulls. And man, has he been playing really, really well for the Chicago Bulls. For his last 8 games, Trey Jones is averaging about 15 and 7, while averaging over 50% from the field and over 50% from the three. And the best thing about it with all those assists, he keeping the turnovers down. We just watched him the other day. My man's had, 18 and 12? Crazy work with only 1 turnover. Crazy work. Those type of things is grabbing the attention of head coach Billy Donovan, and we got to think about it. Those type of things, it might be grabbing some attention from around other teams around the NBA. So that's why I think it's going to be a little bit tough for the Chicago Bulls to retain a guy like Trey Jones. Now, I don't necessarily know how much money he's going to be offered. I don't necessarily know what Trey Jones' intentions are at the end of the season, but I do know right now, man, he's doing a really, really good job. And I think some teams around the league will take notice. Now, you might say, why is it going to be hard to retain them? It's because the Chicago Bulls put themselves in a tough position to go out there and resign players like Trey Jones. You're talking about re-upping on Lonzo Ball. You're talking about going ahead and acquiring Josh Giddey and not really coming to terms with a deal earlier in the season with Josh Giddey. You still got Javon Carter on the squad. You still looking at other guys that might be looking to get paid later on, and Ayo Dosunmu and Kobe White. So the Bulls are gonna be in a tough position to go out there and dish out some money to guys like Trey Jones. And when you talk about him grabbing the attention of other teams around the league, I don't necessarily know where Trey Jones is gonna fit in with other teams around the league, but you will imagine that some teams that might be going through their rebuild and trying to acquire young talent, somebody might go out there and try to give Trey Jones an opportunity to come in and be a starter, or just to say, we're going to throw you a little bit more money than the Chicago Bulls can give you right now. Do you want to come play over here? No, it might not be the best situation in the world, but you'll have maybe a larger role than what we've seen out of Trey Jones, for most of the last few parts of his career, few years of his career. And you see that the increased role of Trey Jones has been spectacular for the Chicago Bulls, but we know that role is going to get back to being a reserve, possibly coming off the bench when Josh Giddey returns. And I said it back when the trade happened. I'll say it again and beat the dead horse one more time. When the Chicago Bulls traded Alex Caruso for Josh Giddey straight up with no picks involved, it lets me know that the Bulls have intentions on retaining Josh Giddey for the foreseeable future. And rightfully so. We're not going to get into who's the best player right now between the two, but I will say, hey, it's going to be some tough decisions. And what do you go with? You go with a Josh Giddey over Trey Jones for the foreseeable future. But the problem is that I want some way, somehow, for the Chicago Bulls to figure out how to retain a guy like Trey Jones and have him a part of this team as the Chicago Bulls move forward and try to, help the future of this season look a little bit more better. Because right now, yes, we're having fun. Yes, we're competing in these games, but we want sustained winning or sustained success from our Chicago Bulls for the foreseeable future. A player like Trey Jones is a guy that you absolutely want to try to retain, but the Bulls have placed them in themselves in weird positions. You know what I'm saying? And one has to ask, man, look, did they pay Lonzo Ball too soon? And I know that I know, and I'm not gonna sit here in front like I wasn't on board with like, okay, that's a solid deal for Lonzo Ball. The good thing is that they give themselves an out after the second year of the contract for Lonzo Ball. But it's like, damn, bro, Lonzo Ball is always missing when we absolutely need him. If we call a spade a spade, you don't have to like it, but that's the reality. You know what I'm saying? And we're gonna sit here and we're gonna hope that Lonzo Ball can eventually return. But then if he does return, do Billy Donovan sacrifice the excellent play of Trey Jones just to give Lonzo Ball his minutes back? That's gonna be a tough decision. And if Billy Donovan elects to do that, that's something that's going to be talked about for sure. And we cannot forget about guys that are going to return like a Ayo Dosunmu. Now, do you move one of these guys in Ayo Dosunmu? Do you try to figure out how to get Lonzo Ball out of Chicago? Those are going to be topics that we're going to be discussing later on for sure, because right now you're getting a guy who was a starter, who came from playing with a smart organization into San Antonio Spurs in Trey Jones, and he's come on to the Chicago Bulls, and he's taking care of the basketball. He's attacking the basketball. He's not just chucking threes. He's taking those threes within the flow of the game, and he's been very, very effective in the way that he's been playing. This right here with Trey Jones constantly elevating his game is making decisions for the Chicago Bulls in the front office a lot more tougher as we continue on. But I think it's but I think it's going to be really, really hard for the Chicago Bulls to retain a guy like Trey Jones for the foreseeable future. But I will say what I said on yesterday's daily. Let's go ahead and enjoy the moment. Let's go ahead and see what this team can do for the last, 14 games of the season. And then I guess we could dive deeper into the conversations once the season ends. But I did want to bring some attention right now to it. Hey, let's enjoy this moment with this young squad. Let's enjoy players like Trey Jones while he's currently on the team. And then we'll see what happens as we move forward for sure. Now, we heard from Josh Giddey with the update that he's pretty much going to be set to come back in one of these back-to-backs as he's recovering from that ankle sprain that he suffered last week. And hey, I'm just happy that it's not more serious than what we thought it will be. My man's twisted that ankle and he was walking out the damn tunnel. It looked like he was just taking out his frustrations on everything in his pathway. But the good thing is that after leaving the stadium in the boot, he was able to go to bed and not have the boot. So that's good for him. But if you ask me, which game do the Chicago Bulls need to have a Josh Giddey? Let's have him play against Sacramento. I don't necessarily think the Chicago Bulls need him tonight. And it's a late start, at least if you're on the Eastern Conference, but they are out west. So those will still be like 7:30, 7 o'clock games. And you just be like, I bet. So, but I say the Chicago Bulls should let them sit out tonight versus the Phoenix Suns and then bring them in versus Sacramento Kings on the second day of a back-to-back. And you will utilize, who knows if he's going to be rusty or anything like that, but you'll use his conditioning and use his ability to return to play as a way to kind of help alleviate some of the stress and the tiredness that some players might feel after battling tonight versus the Phoenix Suns. So I say, go ahead and bring Josh Giddey back versus that Sacramento Kings game. That's just my suggestion, but obviously it can go either way with the Chicago Bulls. They place themselves in the 9th seed right now, and you're looking at teams that's right behind them, and you're looking at teams that are fighting for play-in and playoff positioning as well. So I say give yourself the best opportunity, and we'll see what happens. because the Bulls face off later today versus the Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns, man, they have a huge disappointment. These guys are not even in the play-in this season. Huge disappointment when you consider talented guys like Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal. Have not been a huge fan of Bradley Beal over the last few years just because I think that he's been an empty calorie guy. But when you compare Bradley Beal with the talents of a Kevin Durant and a Devin Booker, one will think that they'll be at least competing and not be out of the play-in. At least somebody would imagine that they wouldn't be in that spot. So it is what it is, but you take it for what it is. And I hope the Chicago Bulls don't think that the Phoenix Suns are just going to come out here and lay down, even though sometimes you watch the Phoenix Suns and it's a bit disappointing to see how they play defense, how they show effort, how they seem like they just don't give a damn, and how it seems like they are just ready to get their season over. How many times are we going to see Mike Budenholzer and Kevin Durant go back and forth? That's looking like a weird ass situation. How many times are we going to see guys not get back on the defensive side for the Phoenix Suns? I hope they don't get back on the defensive side tonight so the Chicago Bulls can get another win. And then it'll be another win to where we could be like, I bet we out here. Let's continue to move up and put the pressure on teams that are in front of us like Orlando and Atlanta just to see what we can happen. I'm not going to jump off the porch. I'm not going to get overexcited. I just want my team to go out there and win as many games as possible to end this season or at least within this stretch, because it's a tough stretch. You got Phoenix, Sacramento, the Lakers, Denver, OKC coming up. Those are not easy games. Those are not easy games. So the Bulls are going to have to, if they want to at least remain in the 9th seed, they're going to have to scrape up some wins. So tonight is a major, major game for the Chicago Bulls. And I hope that Kobe White continues to explode. I hope that the Chicago Bulls get out on the run and put pressure on those older guys over there in Phoenix, those guys that don't really want to defend, but you still got a killer in a scorer in Kevin Durant. You still got a guy that can take over, a fourth quarter in Devin Booker to help their team get a win. So the Bulls got to be locked in. The Bulls have to be focused, and they have to try their best to get it done. And y'all make sure y'all tune in later today. Yes, it's going to be a late one. 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central. Wherever you are, tune in to tonight's live call. Me and CDubb, we will be there, barring anything that might come up on the day. But our plan is to be there, so make sure you tune in. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and make sure when you get that notification that you tune in to Shy Bulls Podcast for that live call, man, because we're going to turn it up for sure. We're going to at least try to have fun while we up at the crazy hours of the night looking like that. Not looking like this. It's going to be we're going to look a little different. After guys got to go to work and handle business with their kids and their families throughout most of the day. But when the Bulls tip off later tonight, we're going to be ready to rock and roll, and we're going to be ready to cheer them on. But that is it for me today, ladies and gentlemen. Just want to come in and give y'all a quick daily episode on some of the thoughts that I'm feeling with the current state of the team. Give y'all some things how I'm feeling about Trey Jones. Talk about Josh Giddey and his matchup versus the Phoenix Suns. Hey, we're going to see what happens, man. Y'all make sure y'all stay in tune. Let me know your predictions down below. Will the Bulls pull this off? We'll see, man. It's a tough matchup for this young squad, but it will be a good win if they can pull it off. So we'll see. We appreciate y'all over here on Shy Bulls Podcast. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. If you want to be a part of the mailbag episode, you can call in, state your name, and leave your take. The number to do so is 773-242-9219. We are Shy Bulls Podcast. I'm Bobby. Y'all already know. I'm going to catch y'all on the next one for sure.
Cognac. Gang.